The Universal Zoo Inspector, Throkval of the Vrection Compliance Bureau, had seen some questionable decisions in his 73 cycles of service. He'd witnessed a Glorbian attempt to house methane breathers next to oxygen respirators. He'd documented a Kalari administrator who thought venomous and cuddly were compatible descriptors. But this was somehow worse. "Let me understand your proposal correctly," Throkval said, his three eye stalks swiveling to focus on the human zookeeper standing before him. The human's name tag read, Marcus Huang, in those peculiar Earth letters. "You want to transfer the Kravath Alpha to open enclosure?" Marcus nodded, completely unbothered by the incredulous tone. "Yep. Been planning it for months. The big guy needs more space." "The big guy?" Throkval's mandibles clicked in what could only be described as exasperation. "You refer to a creature that has personally dismembered 17 security drones, melted through 4 layers of reinforced titanium, and according to reports, once ate an entire surveillance team as the big guy." "To be fair," Marcus said, holding up one finger, "the surveillance team shouldn't have been there after feeding hours. That's on them." Throkval's middle eye stalk twitched. In all his cycles, he'd never encountered a species quite like humans. They were classified as a Category 7 Death World species, which should have meant they understood danger. Instead, they seemed to have a fundamentally broken threat assessment system. The Kravath Alpha itself was a specimen from Destruction Prime, a planet where evolution had apparently gotten bored with normal predator-prey dynamics and decided to manufacture living nightmares instead. It stood 4 meters tall, possessed 6 limbs ending in claws that could punch through starship hulls, and had a mouth that could unhinge to swallow prey twice its size. Its hide was covered in bioluminescent patterns that hypnotized victims before the killing strike, and Marcus wanted to put it in an open enclosure. "Inspector, look," Marcus continued, pulling out a data pad. "I've run the numbers. The Kravath has been showing signs of stress. Pacing, aggressive displays, reduced appetite. He needs environmental enrichment. It needs to remain behind 6 meters of reinforced barriers," Throkval countered. "Your proposal violates approximately 47 galactic safety protocols." 47. Marcus looked genuinely surprised. "Huh. Thought it'd be more." Before Throkval could respond, an alarm began blaring throughout the facility. Not the standard alert. No, this was the deep, bone-rattling klaxon that meant something had gone catastrophically wrong. A panicked Zeltharai administrator burst into the office, her scales flashing distress colors. "The Kravath. It's out. Someone left the secondary containment door unsealed after maintenance." Throkval felt his 3 hearts skip simultaneously. This was it. This was how his career ended. He'd be known as the inspector present when Earth's infamous zoo had its first mass casualty event. Marcus, however, simply set down his coffee mug. "Which sector?" "Heading toward the public viewing areas. There are 200 visitors in the main plaza." The administrator's voice climbed into frequencies that hurt Throkval's auditory sensors. The inspector watched as Marcus stood, stretched his back with an audible crack, and walked over to a storage locker. From it, he retrieved what appeared to be a primitive wooden stick. Just a stick. Maybe 1.5 meters long. "You're joking," Throkval said flatly. "You cannot be serious." "Give me 5 minutes and this stick," Marcus replied, heading for the door. "I'll have him back in containment." 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Throkval's voice reached pitches he didn't know he could produce. "That creature has decimated strike teams. It killed a Mandorian hunter-warrior in single combat." Marcus paused at the doorway. "Yeah, but they weren't his zookeeper." He said it like that explained everything. It explained nothing. Throkval and the administrator rushed to the security center, where dozens of monitors displayed the unfolding situation. The Kravath Alpha was indeed in the main plaza, and it was magnificent in its terror. Visitors were screaming, fleeing in every direction. The creature's bioluminescent patterns were strobing in aggressive display colors. Its 6 claws gouged trenches in the decorative flooring. Security forces were mobilizing, but they moved with the hesitant shuffling of beings who'd read the casualty reports. Throkval didn't blame them. Going after a Kravath Alpha was essentially volunteering for creative dismemberment. Then Marcus entered the frame, walking at a leisurely pace, stick resting on his shoulder. "Is he insane?" one security officer whispered. "He's human," another responded. "Same thing." The Kravath noticed Marcus immediately. Its massive head swung around, bioluminescent patterns shifting to hypnotic spirals. The creature's mouth opened, revealing rows of crystallized teeth that could bite through combat armor. It released a roar that cracked 2 of the security monitors. Marcus stopped walking. He planted the stick on the ground like a walking staff. And then he said something that the universal translator struggled to process, something in one of Earth's thousands of languages. The Kravath's roar cut off mid-bellow. "What did he say?" Throkval demanded. The translator finally caught up. "Approximate meaning, "Hey, dummy. You're not supposed to be here." Marcus pointed the stick at the Cravath. Then he pointed it back toward the containment sector. The gesture was clear even across species barriers. "Go home, the Cravath, this engine of destruction, this apex predator from a planet where everything was designed to kill everything else, sat down on its haunches like a scolded pet." "No," Throkval said. "No, that's not possible." But Marcus was already walking toward the creature, still carrying just that stupid wooden stick. The Cravath's head lowered as the human approached. Its aggressive patterns dimmed to soft, almost apologetic pulses. Marcus reached the creature and bopped it on the snout with the stick. Not hard. Just a tap. A reproachful tap. The Cravath made a sound. Throkval's translator identified it as roughly equivalent to a whimper. "See what you did." Marcus gestured around at the chaos, the fleeing visitors, the gouges in the floor. "This is why we can't have nice things. Come on." The most dangerous predator in the sector meekly followed Marcus back toward containment. It took 3 minutes. Not 5. 3. Back in the security center, nobody spoke. The silence stretched until it became uncomfortable, then awkward, then entered entirely new territories of bewilderment. Finally, the Zeltharai administrator managed to form words. "How?" Throkval had no answer. His training, his experience, his entire understanding of xenobiology provided no framework for what he'd just witnessed. 15 minutes later, after the Cravath was secure and the visitors were being treated for shock, Marcus returned to the office. He replaced the stick in its locker like it was the most normal thing in the galaxy. "So," Marcus said, picking up his coffee mug again, "about that open enclosure proposal." Throkval stared at him. All 3 eye stalks focused with laser intensity. "Explain. Now. What did you do? Neural control? Pheromone manipulation? Some kind of frequency-based submission technique?" "I raised him from a hatchling," Marcus said simply. "Bottle-fed him for the first 6 months. He was abandoned by his brood mother. I mean, you can't do that with all Cravath. Most would eat you. But this guy. He imprinted on me." Marcus shrugged. "He's basically a big, scaly, murderous puppy." "A murderous puppy," Throkval repeated slowly. "Yeah. Just needs proper training and boundaries. And sometimes you gotta show them who's boss with a stick." Marcus sipped his coffee. "So, about that paperwork for the open enclosure." Throkval realized something profound in that moment. The reason humans dominated Deathworld creature management wasn't despite their broken threat assessment. It was because of it. They looked at killing machines and saw potential companions. They approached apex predators with confidence born from sheer, inexplicable audacity, and somehow, impossibly, it worked. "I need to sit down," Throkval said, even though he was already sitting. "Take your time, Inspector," Marcus replied cheerfully. "Want some coffee?" "Fair warning, it's basically poison to most species." "Of course it is," Throkval muttered. 3 hours after what station records would forever label as the incident, Throkval found himself on an unauthorized tour of Earth's xenological facility. Unauthorized because he'd stopped asking permission. Permission implied he had any control over the situation. He didn't. Nobody did. This entire place operated on principles that violated common sense. Marcus led him through the tropical sector, past enclosures housing creatures that made the Cravath look cuddly by comparison. A Sulfurian render, capable of breathing fire hot enough to melt starship plating, was playing with what appeared to be a large rubber ball. A void stalker, invisible to most sensor arrays and known for hunting prey across dimensional barriers, was napping in a hammock. "The key," Marcus explained, tossing a snack to the void stalker without looking, "is understanding behavior patterns. Most species act aggressive because they are stressed, territorial, or hungry. Fix those problems, build trust, and suddenly your nightmare monster becomes manageable." "Manageable," Throkval echoed. His eye stalks had given up trying to process everything independently, and were now moving in synchronized horror. "You use that word. I do not think it means what you think it means." They passed another enclosure where a human named Jamie Torres was hand-feeding a crystalline devourer. The creature's official designation warned that it could shatter molecular bonds with its mandibles. Jamie was feeding it strawberries. "How is she not dead?" Throkval asked. "Gloves," Marcus said, as if that explained anything. It didn't. They reached the observation deck overlooking the aquatic section. Down below, another human keeper named Lisa Park was swimming with a depth leviathan. Not near it. With it. The creature was the size of a small spacecraft and possessed enough bioelectric charge to disable a battlecruiser. Lisa was apparently teaching it to play fetch. "Your species is defective," Throkval announced. "There's no other explanation. You have a fundamental genetic flaw that prevents proper fear responses." Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. "You're not the first to suggest that." Last year, a karate psychologist spent 3 months studying our staff. Concluded we all had mild death wishes. We took it as a compliment. It wasn't meant as one. We know. A commotion from the reptilian sector interrupted their conversation. Shouts in multiple languages, followed by what sounded like something large breaking something expensive. Marcus's radio crackled to life. Marcus, we need you at Enclosure 12. The Vortex Serpent is having another episode. Marcus sighed. Be right there. Inspector, want to see some more impossible things before breakfast. Throckval's better judgment screamed at him to decline. His curiosity, however, had apparently caught whatever insanity infected this place. Why not? I've already filed my resignation letter mentally. Might as well see how it ends. Enclosure 12 housed a vortex serpent from the planet Tempest 9, where the atmosphere was in constant turbulent motion. The creature was essentially a living tornado with scales, capable of generating wind speeds that could shred steel. At the moment, it was coiled in the corner of its enclosure, patterns flickering erratically, clearly agitated. A young keeper named David Kim stood outside the reinforced glass, looking worried. Started about 20 minutes ago. Environmental readings are normal. Can't figure out what's wrong. Marcus studied the serpent for a moment. Then he did something that made Throckval question reality itself. He opened the enclosure door and walked inside. What are you doing? Throckval shrieked. My job, Marcus replied calmly. The winds inside the enclosure immediately picked up, swirling around him with enough force to strip paint. His hair whipped around his face, his jacket flapped violently, but he kept walking forward. The vortex serpent's head rose, regarding him with eyes that crackled with electrical discharge. Warning posture. Attack imminent. Marcus held up his hands, empty, non-threatening. He spoke in low, steady tones that somehow carried over the wind. Throckval's translator caught fragments. Easy there, gorgeous. What's got you all worked up? Something bothering you? The serpent's winds increased, forming a visible vortex around Marcus. Any normal being would have been torn apart. Marcus just squinted against the dust and kept talking. Come on, let me help. We're friends, remember? You let me clean your scales last week. That was nice, right? Slowly, impossibly, the winds began to decrease. The serpent lowered its head, and Marcus reached out to touch its snout. The creature that could level buildings leaned into his hand like a cat seeking affection. Marcus examined the serpent carefully, running his hands along its scales. Then he stopped, focusing on a section near the creature's midsection. There we go. Found it. He carefully extracted something, holding it up to the light. Piece of glass. Probably from that broken heat lamp last week. Been jabbing you this whole time, hasn't it? The vortex serpent's agitated patterns smoothed out immediately. It made a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Yeah, I'd be cranky too, Marcus said sympathetically. He spent another few minutes checking the rest of the serpent, then gave it an affectionate pat before exiting the enclosure. David, file a maintenance report. We need to sweep for any other glass fragments. And let's get some antibiotic gel applied to that irritation spot. On it, David said, already typing on his data pad. Throckval had stopped trying to form coherent thoughts. His brain had moved past shock into a kind of numb acceptance. This was his life now. This was reality. Humans casually waltzed into enclosures with creatures that could kill them in 17 different ways and solved problems with the power of, what, friendship. I need to see your incident reports, Throckval said weakly. All of them. Marcus winced. That's, going to take a while. How many incidents per cycle? Define incident. Injury, containment breach, property damage, near-death experience, actual death experience. Marcus thought about it. If we use that broad definition, maybe 3 or 4 per week. Per week? Throckval's voice could have shattered the glass enclosures. How are you all not dead? Training, mostly. And really good medical insurance. Marcus led him toward the administrative building. Look, Inspector, I get it. By Galactic standards, we're reckless. But here's the thing. Every creature in this facility was either injured, abandoned, or rescued from illegal trading operations. They couldn't survive in the wild, and most facilities wouldn't take them because they are too dangerous. So they come here. They entered an office where walls were covered with photos. Hundreds of them. Humans posing with creatures that should have been their executioners. A small human child sleeping against a venom drake. An elderly man teaching a plasma bear to paint. A wedding photo where the attendants included 3 razor-wing raptors wearing tiny bow ties. We don't see monsters, Marcus said quietly. We see animals that need help. Yeah, they're dangerous. Yeah, we take risks. But somebody has to. Because they deserve a chance at life, even if that life is in captivity. We just happen to be stubborn enough and stupid enough to try. Throckval looked at the photos. Really looked at them. The joy on the humans' faces wasn't ignorance. It was genuine care. These people knew exactly how dangerous their charges were. They just didn't let that stop them. Your open enclosure proposal, Throckval heard himself say. Show me the full specifications. Marcus's face lit up. Seriously? I'm either going to approve it, or document exactly why it's the worst idea in galactic history. Either way, I need details. 3 hours later, after reviewing environmental studies, behavioral assessments, and enough safety protocols to fill a small library, Throckval did something he never thought he'd do. He signed the approval forms. Conditional, he warned, all 3 eye stalks focused on Marcus. First sign of trouble, first hint of danger, and this gets shut down immediately. Understood. Understood, Marcus agreed, grinning widely. And I'm filing a recommendation that all Galactic Zoo inspectors receive psychological evaluation before visiting Earth facilities. This place is contagious. We prefer the term inspiring. I said what I said. As Throckval prepared to leave the facility, his shuttle waiting on the landing pad, he paused. Question. The stick. The one you used with the Kravath. What makes it special? Advanced technology hidden inside. Neural dampening field. Ancestral weapon. Marcus picked up the stick from where it leaned against the wall. He examined it like seeing it for the first time. Nope. Just a stick. Good weight, nice balance. Found it in the woods behind my house. A stick, Throckval repeated. Sometimes the simple solutions work best. Marcus handed it to him. Here. Souvenir. Maybe it'll bring you luck on your next inspection. Throckval accepted the stick, holding it like it might explode. It was just wood. Ordinary, unremarkable wood, but it had stopped a Kravath Alpha in its tracks, because the human holding it believed it would. Flying away from Earth's orbital facility, Throckval composed his official report. His fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time, before he finally typed the conclusion. Humanity's approach to xenological management defies all conventional wisdom and violates numerous safety standards. By any rational measure, their facilities should be graveyards. Instead, they achieve the highest rehabilitation and survival rates in the known galaxy. Conclusion: humans are either the luckiest species in existence, or they understand something fundamental about life that the rest of us have forgotten. Recommend continued observation and perhaps, inadvisable as it sounds, learning from their methods. Also recommend hazard pay for future inspectors. Double hazard pay. He paused, then added one final note. The stick works. I don't understand why. I don't think I want to. On the observation deck of the facility, Marcus watched the inspector's shuttle disappear into the stars. Beside him, the Kravath Alpha rumbled contentedly, finally allowed into its new open enclosure. Marcus scratched behind the creature's armored head crest, right where it liked. See, buddy. Told you we'd get that upgrade. Just took some patience. The Kravath made that whimpering sound again, this time clearly happy. Yeah, I like the view too, Marcus agreed. Now remember, no eating the visitors. We've been over this. Somewhere in the cosmos, Throckval was filing his report and questioning every life choice that led him to this moment. On Earth, Marcus was planning next week's enrichment activities and wondering if the Vortex Serpent would enjoy a wind tunnel obstacle course, and in the end, somehow, everything worked out fine, because humans, in their infinite stubbornness, refused to accept that some things were impossible. Sometimes, that was enough.